In Romans 12:19, it states, "Beloved, never avenge yourselves, but leave it to the wrath of God. For it is written, Vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord." Leviticus 19:18, "You shall not take vengeance or bear a grudge against the sons of your own people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord." This one I like very much so because you really have to think about it. Because you know that both God and evil reside in one's body. God is within our heart. Evil, if you allow, resides right here. And when you have this fades. There's no more light. Because God won't be around evil. And if you can understand that, then this will hit home for you. Proverbs 20:22. "Do not say, I will repay evil. Wait for the Lord, and he will deliver you." Do you understand what that means? If you're going to destroy evil, if evil still resides in you, you destroy yourself. Basically. But if you wait, if you wake up knowing that you are evil, you think evil thoughts, you throw evil words at people, we all do it. You're allowing Satan to whisper these things to do it. It's okay. Because Christ died for you anyway. Done deal. Go ahead, commit more sin. We're all to blame, folks. Okay? Each and every one of us to blame for what is occurring right now because we turned our eyes away from God. Has nothing to do with anything else. And why I say that is because without God, you wouldn't be here, I wouldn't be here, and we all, the mess around us, would not be here. Do you understand? I really hope you do. Folks, I've been saying this all along. If everybody would turn their eyes to God literally and get out of all these platforms, turn your TVs off, just block it completely away from you and your family, our whole world would change in a heartbeat. Think about it. It's no different than a bushel of billions of apples, and you got a third of those that are rotten, and they're living in the same world. Eventually the rot wins. Right? It's no different. That's evil. Okay? If you can picture that as evil. So God's saying, don't do that. Don't do that. It says, wait for the Lord, and he will deliver you. He will take you out of that evilness, and you will survive. But if you stay and allow the evil to eat you up, there's nothing to save, right? I think about it. Here's a good one too. Romans 12:17. Repay no one evil for evil, but give thought to do what is honorable in the sight of all. Do you understand what that one means? It means that don't be so quick to throw out a mean word. And I'm saying we're all guilty. I'm not excluding myself. I'm no better than anyone else. I'm just learning how to be different. how to go back to the way that God wants us to act. That's why I was so furious when I heard, not only from my family members, I heard from a lot of people. I went to sites. I started looking at comments. I started reading and researching, and when I found out that a lot of these southern states are still so racist, I was literally disgusted. My stomach turned. I was furious. Because I wanted to go and enjoy the scenery. I wanted to become a part of. I wanted the best of both worlds, in my mind's eye. Any state that can provide you with a beautiful landscape of waters and the beauty of countryside, foothills, and mountains, to me, that's a wonderful thing. And that was something I wanted to experience. But as I began to listen to people and to hear that it still happens. Now, I knew it happened, maybe still in the 90s. And I knew that because my sister lived in Georgia. And all the IBMers lived in these beautiful areas. You know, they were kind of engulfed, or not engulfed, but they were encompassed in a beautiful landscape of trees, of forest. Yet, one of the homeowners had a cross burned on his lawn. And when she told me that, I was like, what? I mean, that's unheard of. Who does that? And so, time went on. I figured, okay, the years are advancing. Everybody's getting along, and they make it look like everybody's getting along. I've not heard anything unless you take it to the streets or you take it up in politics. But for the most part in communities, that was unheard of where I came from, and I've lived in 5 states already. So what's actually going on over there in the South? And why are they still holding grudges? And what happened to love thy neighbor? Those are what they call snakes. They're preaching, but not teaching. They're acting holier than thou, but they're over there crucifying anyone that doesn't look right in their eyes or have the color that they are supposed to have or the color of their hair. And what's wrong with that? My God. That is so unbecoming to a state. So unbecoming to anyone that has God in their heart. I would think they would have gotten rid of all those people that think that way long gone. But apparently it just carries on. And those are the things that we need to get rid of in our lives. The hate for one another. Because everybody's made from the same creator. So you're hating on yourself. Anything that triggers you and gets you upset, you better look inside, because it actually originates right here. People don't understand much. We just heard that telling us. On the political side, the government side, commerce side, everything. They don't understand. It's the same thing when you're dealing with God. A lot of people don't get it. And then there's those that say, well, gee, if God died for us, then what do I have to worry about? I'm just going to live life. But you're missing what the whole idea is. The whole idea is to come together as one because we are all from the same Creator. Therefore, we should love one another as we love ourselves. Now, if you no longer love yourself, then you cannot do that. And that's where that hate, the anger, that resentment, that lingers here. But yes, you have people that have God here, but they'll allow Satan to come into that thought and give them a 4-letter word. And a lot of people I've found cannot communicate, so they only use 4-letter words. And that's pathetic. You're sending your children to schools that don't educate. Not anymore. Not the way it used to be. And that's a sad situation, folks. Because 9 things out of the 10 top educational things we should have learned, hardly any apply when you're out there getting a job. That's the truth. Ask anyone who's gone to college. Oh, what did you study up on? Oh, well, so then you have a job within that industry, that knowledge, that technology. And 9 times out of 10, they'll say no. Ignorance runs rampant. And we're seeing that unfold. Because if it takes this much to wake up a nation and the world, then we have been blinded for a long, long time. And now they're to the point where they're so comfortable knowing that we're going to bow to their every whim that they're blatant. If you ever saw the Hunger Games, that's what this kind of reminds me of. It does. Because it's the same evilness behind what they're doing. Putting kids out to battle one another, whether they like it or not, in order to allow their families to survive. Now, when we become so complacent and so lost in, oh my gosh, this AI technology, guys, that ain't going to take us out of our situation. That's going to put us further deep. There'll be a time when there'll be a program that's going to come on, or there's going to be something on your phone, or there's going to be something in that game that you play that's going to take you within. And once you're in there, you're lost. It's coming. You remember that movie with James Carey where the Truman Story. Well, they had that man believing everything that he was seeing and around him was true, but it wasn't. He was like a fish in a terrarium, or a tarantula in a terrarium. And they were monitoring everything he did, everything about him. That's the same thing, folks. Now, we have to start changing the way we think. Okay? You got to stop thinking that every person around you is your enemy. And there are times, yes, when there are there. So we have to use our God-given inner intuition, right? That's that God nod, I tell you, that it warns me. And he says, stop. And so I do. because I honor God. I know how he works through my body because I'm with him every day and I read his word constantly. Because it's up to me as an individual, and it's my responsibility to be the best that I can be. And that best is honoring God and trying to live life the best that I know how, and reach out and help others because they're my brothers and my sisters. And that's basically how my parents raised us. I was very fortunate. My folks proved, they were the walking proof of be good to your neighbor and love thy neighbor, and if they're hungry, feed them, and if they thirst, give them drink. If they need a shoulder to talk to, then lean the shoulder in, and just tuck her in and listen to that person. I saw my father do that many times. I saw him tolerate sometimes a neighbor that would come over drunk. He didn't like that. My dad didn't keep liquor in the house. But yes, if he went out and him and mom went out dancing, they'd have their drinks. And my father was an entertainer, but he wasn't sloppy. He wasn't like the others. My dad had pride and he had a clean heart, and he wasn't out for anything but being the best that he could be. No better than anyone else. But he had what inside him, a glow, because he could attract, people would just come to him. He just was bubbly. His eyes were always brilliantly shiny. He was a good man. And it's that kind of a persona that if everyone would carry, instead of fighting one another, instead of being hurtful and saying hurtful things to one another, instead of disliking somebody because of their color, why? That breaks my heart. So I do the best that I can and try to share the word with everyone. Trying to make you see the light. Because it is a wonderful feeling. And it's refreshing knowing that no matter what I do in my life is my journey towards the promised land. Because we all have been given that. And don't forget that it was Jesus Christ who walked among the men. Right there, he was right there with them. He did all these beautiful blessings, and he made the blind see, and he removed the leprosy from people. And the most prominent one is when the lady who was bleeding for all her life spent all her money in these physicians and these witchcrafters and all these barbaric things because she was desperate. So when Jesus walked through, she said, "But if only I could touch the hem of his garment, I shall be healed." That was her faith. That was the power that came through at that time, at that moment, when her faith responded. No one else around her was healed of anything, and I'm sure most of them had ailments. But because of her belief, now Jesus didn't realize that she was there, because the faith didn't show up until the statement was made. And because of that statement, power of the Spirit came through and healed her. That's when God knew. He felt the presence, but he didn't know. That's why he asked. So it's time for us to turn to God, folks. Please, let's end this misery, okay? I don't know about you, but I'm tired of hearing the same old, same old. And now it's gotten to the point where I don't care. Throw the nuke. Throw it. Because they won't. Because they know it will happen. They know. But I love these, a lot of these, what Jesus spoke is the word. And this one is Matthew 5:39. But I say to you, do not resist the one who is evil. But if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. And what he's saying is deny evil, basically. It's not to the point where you have to go slap someone. He's telling you deny evil. Don't walk with him. Romans 13:1-14. Let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. For rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Would you have no fear of the one who is in authority? Then do what is good, and you will receive his approval. For he is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is the servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. Therefore one must be subjection, not only to avoid God's wrath, but also for the sake of conscience. And what does that mean? It means that the authorities that we're literally fighting today in our government are just that. They're the law of the land. But God's authority, now that is supreme. And God's authority is the one we need to live by, because that's why Jesus Christ died on the cross. And by that, we were given that authority over Satan. Okay? When Lucifer fell down to earth, he became Satan. And then, of course, you have all the other demons. You got the devil, you got Baal or Baal, what they call him. They got Beelzebub. They got so many names, it's disgusting. But they're all just evil angels, so to speak. Nonetheless, if God created Jesus, God created Lucifer. Because Lucifer was created way before Adam. But he was a bad boy. And his ego took over. And when you see evil around us, it's their ego that takes over. Like Chris Christie. He knows he's nothing. He knows he can do nothing because he's just slime. But in order to get that legs and the arms, that boost, he needs his donors. And what happens to that money after they lose? And how much did they really spend of your money? Your donation money. How much did you spend? How many hours did you have to work in order to donate as much as you did? If you put it into that perspective, then it gives you a better idea of what you're doing in life. And most people won't. They don't take the time to do that. That's too hard. I got my bridge game that's going to start here in an hour, or oh, I got to run down to go meet my buddy at the mall. You know, those things are more important. But that's how complacent we become, people. Okay, they have us so wrapped up in the material world that people have already spent to their limits, in debt up to their wazoos, for all those things that you want. Now you're tied to your jobs. And then when we have issues such as this, there are no savings. Banks aren't loaning. Interest rates are going sky high. You got the Frankensteins over here that are trying to take away the cows because they're saying the emissions is like what's destroying our world. Give me a friggin' break. It's the reason to take away the meat away from the people. Why? Bill Gates. He's already patented how to make meat from a machine. They can grow it in the lab. And then you got the farmers. They're literally stomping on the farmers. Why? Bill Gates. He's bought all the land. He wants to grow crickets. He wants people to eat insects. And he wants to feed you what he's making. You already know how he's involved with all the biochemical companies out there. They're all working together to destroy mankind. You've heard of the Georgia Guidestones, right? Well, they wanted to reduce our population over down for 500,000, something like that. We're in the billions. But that's their goal. That's reality. That's their one world order. And everybody's going to go through hell in these 15-minute cities that are literally built on artificial intelligence, and you will be required to put a chip in you, because without that they can't zap you. You know, you can't spend your money on groceries, and you can't pay the doctor bill, and you can't enter this building, and they have that control. So Johnny, you can't go out today, zip. And Dad's not going to work, you know. And that's how they control. It's a modern day concentration camp, if you will. So anyway, folks, that's what I have today. And I had to come back and do this because God said you need to do this. So I did. So just know that I love you all. I care about everybody. And that's what breaks my heart, is that I'm just such a caring person, and I just want to be happy in my life, and I can't even do that. And that's sad. So what you got to do is you got to go within and be with God, and He'll open the doors, because I haven't quit my journey. I've just begun. Love you. See you. Bye.